Hello friends, today's video is about 9 rules for using articles correctly. Basic English grammar rules for beginners. Articles may seem to be of little significance in English grammar, but when you really understand the importance of using articles correctly in English sentences, you will understand that they are quite significant because misusing articles results in very many common mistakes made by English learners. That is why the focus of today's video is on 9 rules for using articles correctly in English. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the bell icon as well so that whenever new videos are uploaded on this channel, you will receive instant notification. Let's dive into the lesson right away. What are articles? Of course, articles are words that define a noun either as specific or non-specific. There are 3 articles in English. You have a, an, and the. A and an are indefinite articles, while the is the definite article. We use the definite article they to refer to specific or particular nouns. That is why it is called the definite article. The indefinite articles a and an are used to refer to non-specific or non-particular nouns. That's why they are called indefinite nouns. They are used to refer to things that we're not talking about in particular, things that we talk about in general terms. All right. Now let's look at the various rules. Rule number 1, use a with a singular noun beginning with a consonant sound and use an with a singular noun beginning with a vowel sound. Now examples are as follows. Now examples with a lion, because the word lion, which this indefinite article modifies, begins with the consonant sound L. So we can use a before this noun, which begins with the consonant sound L. So we talk about a lion. A house, because the word house begins with the consonant sound H. House. A house. A man, because the word man begins with the consonant sound M. A man. Then a university. Of course, here you can see the clear discrepancy between English letters and English sound. Here we have the letter U, which is a vowel letter, beginning this word, yet we are using a because the sound here is a consonant sound. So here what we have is what is called a partial semivowel. That is J. A university. Of course, in some varieties of English, some scholars try to represent this with Y, of course, a university. But in British English and in line with the International Phonetic Alphabet, this partial semivowel is what is the sound that is represented here. A university, a university. All right. So because this is a consonant sound, even though this is a vowel letter, this is a consonant sound. That is why we have the article a coming before it. So it is not an university, it is a university, or a university student, or a university dorm. Now, a similar thing applies to a European tour. Again, you find the same partial semivowel, which is a consonant sound. That's exactly what is represented here. A European tour, a European tour. So this sound here is a consonant sound. And take note of the fact that we are saying that we use a with a singular noun beginning with a consonant sound. We are not saying beginning with a consonant letter. All right? And we are not saying beginning with a vowel letter. We are talking of a consonant sound. So even though we have a vowel letter here, yet what we have is a consonant sound. So where a vowel letter is representing a consonant sound, then we only have to apply the rule of using a when we have a singular noun beginning with a consonant sound. Now let's look at examples of an. We look at situations where we have to use the article an. And an example is an elephant, because the word elephant begins with a vowel sound, an elephant. An hour. Again, here you see that although H is a vowel, is a consonant letter, it is actually a vowel sound. What we have in hour is a diphthong beginning with a diphthong ow. Then we add the schwa sound, and that gives us hour, hour, and hour. So there is a vowel sound here represented by the consonant letter and the vowel letters here. So an hour. You cannot say a hour, because even though we have H here and it is a consonant, here the H here merely represents a vowel sound. Then the next one is an MA in English, an MA in English, because we are pronouncing MA as M. Now here we have the same consonant letter M, but here we are pronouncing it as a consonant sound, as a consonant sound. Ma, ma, ma. But here we are pronouncing it as a vowel sound. And M-A, M-A, M begins with a vowel, an MA in English. Then we have an umbrella. Umbrella, this also is a vowel sound. An English book, an English book, this also is a vowel sound. So this is rule number 1, and this rule states that we have to use a with a singular noun beginning with a consonant sound, and we have to use an with a singular noun beginning with a vowel sound. So let's proceed. Let's move on to rule 2. Rule 2 states that you should use a or an only. Right, let's move this. Let's see if we can move this. Okay. Use a or an only with countable nouns. Uncountable nouns don't require a or an. So use a or an only with uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns. All right? I mean with countable nouns rather. You know, uncountable nouns don't require a or an. I hope you know the difference between countable nouns and uncountable nouns. The examples we saw earlier are examples of countable nouns, and here we look at more examples. Let's move this. All right, so here we have a school. You can count schools. Here you have a hospital. Countable nouns usually have singular and plural forms, and those are the kinds of nouns you can use indefinite articles with. A school, and when you are talking of a school, you are talking of one school. If you are talking about 2 or more, you can talk about many schools, or you can talk about 2 schools, or you can talk about some schools. All right? A hospital refers to one. A wise man refers to one. You can count it. A university, an elephant, an engineer, an electrician, an optimist. These are all countable nouns. And with these countable nouns, we can use a and an with their singular forms. Take note that we use a and an with the singular forms of countable nouns. Now, let's look at examples of uncountable nouns, and let's attempt to use a or an. Can we say education? Can we say a health? Can we say a wisdom? Can we say a knowledge? Can we say a strength? All right, let's see if this, can we say a water? Well, can we say a coffee? And can we say, well, let me get this right. Can we say an A? All right, so let's look at this. Now, education is uncountable. So We cannot say an education because you can't talk of one education, two education, three or more. The same thing applies to health. We cannot say a health because you can't count health. Neither can we say neither can we say a wisdom or a knowledge. These things are uncountable. You cannot say a strength. You can't count strength. You cannot say a water because it is uncountable. You cannot say a coffee, all right? However, there is an exception here that when you say a coffee, you give coffee a special meaning in this case. The coffee you are talking about is then different from the general type of coffee that we talk about. All right, so if you are talking about a coffee, then in this case, you are talking about a cup of coffee. A cup of coffee. So when you say a coffee, then you can say a cup of coffee. So in this case, we give coffee a special meaning. All right. In this case, we give coffee a special meaning when we say a coffee. Then we are talking about a cup of coffee. But we can say, I would like to have a coffee, or shall I get you a coffee? In this case, the meaning has changed from the liquid that we refer to as coffee, and now we are talking about a cup of it. We are now referring to a cup of it, a cup of coffee. Now, some uncountable nouns can be pluralized or singularized when we give it a special meaning. For instance, if we pluralize water, then we are no longer talking about water generally. That's the liquid we drink or we use for our domestic purposes. But here we are talking about different sources of waters. So if we are talking about British waters, we are talking of the various sources of water in Britain, all right? So different sources of water such as rivers, oceans, seas, lakes, streams, all the various types of water, the various sources of water can be referred to as waters. All right, but if we are looking at the water we drink, the material itself, then we cannot pluralize or singularize it. Now, we cannot say an A except we also give it a special meaning. So I hope you have understood, the rules and how we apply them. Of course, you also understand that in the use of English, one thing that most learners find a little bit complex is that most of the rules you have governing the grammar of English language have exceptions. All right. So when you learn the rules, you are expected also to learn the exceptions. All right. Okay, so let's move on Rule number 3. Use a or an for an unknown or indefinite person or thing. Something you don't know, that is not known to the listener, the person you are talking to. You use a or an. Then use the, which is the definite article, for a known or definite person or thing. In other words, when you are talking about something for the first time, you use the indefinite article. And once what you are talking about is already known to the listener, you can now talk about, you can now use the definite article. All right? So that's the way it is. Now let's look at examples. A, you asked me to buy you a book, because this 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 was unknown up till this moment. The very book we are talking about is still unknown. We are talking about it for the first time. So we are using the definite article, I mean the indefinite article, a book. A book can be any book. You asked me to buy you a book. Now, since this is already known to us, we can then use the definite article. This is the book. It's already known because this is the book that you asked me to buy for you. All right, so the book is already known, and that is why we use the definite article. When it is unknown, we use an indefinite article. When it is known, we use the definite article. Example B, yesterday my uncle brought home a dog, because the dog was unknown until we now talked about it. Yesterday, my uncle brought home a dog. It can be any dog. It's just a dog. All right? But now that this has been talked about, it is already known to both the speaker and the listener. And when you are talking more about the same dog, you can now use the definite article because it's now a specific dog we are talking about. And we can say what I dislike about the dog. Which dog? The one my uncle brought home yesterday. What I dislike about the dog is that it barks uncontrollably. All right, so you can see the rule applied quite clearly here. When something is unknown, we talk about it by using the indefinite article. In that sense, we are being non-specific. We are not talking about a particular person or thing. But once we have mentioned it or introduced it, when we speak further about it, we use the definite article because it's already known to us. Now let's look at example C. My mother bought me a new bag last term. Now, a new bag, because we didn't know about the bag until this first time it is being talked about. My mother bought me a new bag last term. Then still talking about this same item, we can now use the definite article. But the bag has been stolen. Which bag? A new bag my mother bought for me. The bag has been stolen. All right, so this is rule number 3, a very important rule in ensuring that we use articles correctly in English sentences. Now let's move on to rule number 4. Rule number 4 states as follows: use a or an to indicate the category or type of person or thing. When we are talking about a type of person, or we are talking about a class of things, a category of things, In other words, we are now talking about something that is that belongs to a particular class, but we are talking about it in general terms. So here, example A, Mary is a nurse, but her sister is an electronic engineer. All right, Mary is a nurse. A nurse is a class of a category of profession, a kind of profession. All right, a type. Her sister is an electronic engineer, which is also indicates a type of person or thing. Example B, John is an Irish man. John is a member of the Irish community, or is a member of the Irish community or something, or nativity. All right, John is an Irish man, but he married a Japanese. So this is also a type of person. Then C, Okon is an intelligent man. This is telling us about a type of person. So in this case, when we are talking of an Irishman, a nurse, a Japanese, an electronic engineer, we are talking about a category of person. But here, Okon is an intelligent man, is telling us about a type of person that Okon is. Clara has worked as a radio presenter. A radio presenter is also a type of person. All right. So let's move on to the next rule, which is rule number 6. Rule number 5, first of all. We just talked about rule number 4. Use a or an to indicate the category or type of person or thing. Then the next is rule number 5, which states as follows: if the noun is modified by an adjective, the choice between a and an depends on the initial sound of the adjective. That is the adjective that immediately follows the article. All right. For example, a chartered accountant. The adjective here is chartered. It's a past participle that is functioning as an adjective, telling us more about the accountant, describing the accountant. A chartered accountant. And because the word chartered begins with a consonant sound, then we use a. A unique opportunity. Because the word unique is an adjective and the initial sound is a consonant sound. Unique, even though it's a vowel letter, yet the sound is consonant. Because here you have the consonant sound, a unique opportunity, an interesting novel. Because the word interesting begins with a vowel sound, we use an. A broken pot, an unusual problem, a university student. All right, so these are the rules that apply. Don't forget, if the noun is modified by an adjective, the choice between a and an depends on the initial sound of the adjective that immediately follows the article. All right, so I hope you have actually understood this rule. Then rule number 6, use the definite article the when the noun is specific or particular. Use the definite article the when the noun is specific or particular. For example, the gunman that robbed the bank, the gunmen that robbed the bank have been arrested. All right? Already, the gunmen are already known. We are talking about a particular group of gunmen. We are not talking about gunmen in general. We are talking specifically about certain gunmen. Who are these gunmen? The particular gunmen that robbed the bank are the ones we are talking about. So we use the definite article they. The gunmen that robbed the bank have been arrested. Then B, example B, we went to see the woman whose husband died in the plane crash. So here we are talking about a particular woman, a specific woman, the one whose husband died in the plane crash. So we use the definite article when the noun is specific or particular. That is why we use the definite article, because we are talking about a definite person or a definite thing. Example C, we were able to kill the snake that bit Jane. Here we are talking about a particular snake. We are not talking about snakes in general. But the one we killed was the one that bit Jane. So that is exactly how rule number 6 applies. Now let's move on to rule number 7. And rule number 7 states as follows: use no articles when generalizing with plurals or uncountable nouns. In other words, when we are using plural nouns, when we are using plural nouns, or we are using uncountable nouns, we don't need any article. For example, children like toys. Children is plural, and so we don't have to say a children or an children. We don't also have to, we don't need to put the definite article there, the children like toys, unless we are talking about a particular group of children. But if we are talking about children in general, when generalizing with a plural, the plural children, we don't need any article. Children like toys. I hate watching war movies. Here, we are not talking about a particular war movie. And we are not talking about one. We are talking about war movies. I mean war films generally. I hate watching war films. Now, see, if education is expensive, try ignorance. Education is uncountable, so we don't need an article. We cannot say if an education is expensive, try an ignorance. No, there are no articles with words that are actually that refer to uncountable things. Now, example D, wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom. We don't have to say a wisdom or the wisdom. So we don't need articles in this situation. All right? Then rule number 8. Proper nouns and some other types of nouns are not to be used with the definite article they. Look at proper nouns, which are names of persons, places. You talk of John, you talk of Mary, Matthew, Cain, London, Germany, Nigeria, New York, Paris, Asia, Europe, etc. For instance, you don't need to say the John, all right, or a John. No, you don't need that. You don't talk of a London or a Germany or the Nigeria. No, it's only in few exceptions that you use a definite article before a particular name of a place. All right. Then, when talking about games, names of games don't need articles. Tennis, badminton, cricket, chess, golf. You don't talk of a tennis or an badminton, no. Then languages too don't require uh, any article, with the exception of some exceptional cases. Now, examples of languages are French, Japanese, English. All right. So when we are talking about languages, English, Hindi, Spanish, Arabic, Tamil, we don't use articles with them. You can't talk about a French or an English or a Hindi or a Spanish, you know. But if you can talk about a Japanese when you are referring to a person, but when you are talking about the language, you don't use an article. All right. So that is rule number 8. With proper nouns, you don't use articles. All right. With names of games, you don't use articles. And with languages, you don't use articles. Of course, there are few exceptions. All right. So let's look at the last but not the least rule, which is rule number 9. Use the definite article the before unique nouns. Some unique objects, such as the earth, the sky, the moon, the Lord, the equator. You know, we use definite articles with unique noun when we are talking about unique objects. Again, we can talk about the president of United States of America, the president, the governor of Enugu State, you know, the chairman. So in some unique cases, we use the definite article. All right. Now, another unique case is when we are talking about superlative adjectives and unique adjectives. For instance, the tallest building, the tallest building. Now, it requires the definite article because when you are talking of the tallest, out of the things you are talking about, one of them, you are talking of a specific thing that is the tallest among them. So the tallest building, the best, the first, the most beautiful, the end. the beginning. These are unique cases, and we use the definite article for such unique nouns. All right, so these are the 9 rules for using articles in English, and I hope you have learned some things that will help you to begin to use articles correctly. Because when you learn the rules of a language, you use the language correctly, because a language is essentially governed by rules. And to use a language correctly, you need to master the rules. This is where we draw the curtain in today's video. If you enjoy the video, like the video, and share it with your friends and relations. If you have any questions, any comments, any commendations, then leave your comments in the comment section below. If you have any topic you would like me to discuss in subsequent videos, do mention the topics as well, because on this channel we value and highly esteem our viewers and subscribers. And whenever a subscriber makes a suggestion or comes up with a topic that they request us to treat, we treat it with dispatch. We have discussed a number of topics suggested by our subscribers, and there has never been any situation where a subscriber suggested a topic and we ignored it. We don't ignore the wishes of our subscribers. So thank you for being part of today's video. If you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Kindly click on the bell icon as well, so that when the next video goes live on this channel, you will be the first to receive notification. Once again, I want to thank you for being part of today's episode. See you